Travel Growth Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Growth Podcast. I'm Tom McLaughlin, founder of SEO Travel, and this is where I speak to successful travel business leaders and dig into the successes, challenges, and learnings from their experiences over the years, so you, the listener, can take away actionable advice to enhance your own businesses and maybe even lives too. My guest today is Melvin Boecher. Melvin is the founder of TravelDudes, a global community of experienced travellers who dig deep to find the best travel tips to share with the world. TravelDudes has amassed a Twitter following of more than 250,000 people and has similarly huge numbers on Facebook, Instagram, and the various other social media channels. Melvin is at the forefront of the conversation around influencer marketing in travel and partners with clients to create engaging content that reaches an audience of over 3 million travellers each month. We cover a lot in this conversation, from building your dream team to valuing your investment in content and marketing to ensure you're getting the best possible ROI. Melvin is a strong proponent of using partnerships to grow, and we cover various ways that you can do that, especially in the earlier stages when you don't necessarily have a big audience to share and you need to work out ways to offer value to others. We also get into the power of video and ways to use that for both social media and on your own website. There's loads and loads of takeaways in this one, as you'd expect from someone like Melvin, who's been in the business for a long time and is one of the original travel bloggers. So sit back, relax, and enjoy me talking to Melvin Boecher. Melvin, hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Really excited to have you on. I'm sure in the industry there'll be lots of people who know who you are and kind of have a bit of understanding of your story and how TravelDudes came around. But I'm hoping that we can dig into kind of the history a bit more and the kind of the business side of what you've done with it over the years, because I know from our conversations that there's lots of interesting areas that you've covered. So looking forward to talking through it with you.
Yeah, I think it was like, when you look back, obviously there's this kind of strange feeling. Somehow it feels all very long. Well, I started with TravelDudes 2004 and I do it full time since 2007. And it feels like such a long time when I started with that. On the other side, everything went so quickly. Yeah. It's like, this typical feeling when you look into the past, right?
Yeah.
And, so like once someone said, wow, you're a pioneer. And I've never felt like that, but when I think about that now, looking back, I can agree with that.
No, absolutely. Well, you were definitely one of the first on the scene, and we'll get into the story a little bit as to how it happened initially.
And I think being called a pioneer sounds much better than being called old and old-fashioned and old website. Right?
Absolutely.
So pioneer has a far more positive vibe to it.
Absolutely, no. It's definitely something to strive for. Old man versus pioneer definitely sits better. Tell us, just going back to the kind of the start, Melvin. Like, when you were a kid, when you were growing up, what did you dream about being when you grew up?
What have been dreaming? That's a good question. I guess like everyone else, like flying to the moon, being a fireman, I don't know what. I don't really think that as a small kid maybe, but like afterwards, I don't really think that I really had an aim of what really to become. I've never really had. It's more this normal process, taking step by step, but I've never had this big goal.
Okay. Did you have a job, you mentioned a fireman there? Did you have a job kind of in mind that you thought that's what I'd like to do?
Being younger, maybe. I think I simply forgot. It's like there you see the old guy, the old man, not the pioneer. No, but it's like all my life was about travel. And it started with my parents. So we've been traveling. I think I was like 5 years old, and I've traveled from the East Coast in the US to the West Coast with them over 6.5 weeks. So I've been always around traveling the world. And when I finished school, I started becoming like a travel agent. And at Hapag-Lloyd, a big company for business travel. So it was always about travel, and I really like working in the travel business, and I'm still sticking to it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so that's my next question was going to be, what's your first kind of memory of travel? Yeah, was it that then, the US journey?
I can't remember that one, but I still have in mind a photo where I played tennis. Well, it was not a proper tennis racket. I just was pretending playing tennis in the old World Trade Center, which is, of course, now very strange, as we know that it's not existing anymore. Yeah. But I was standing inside playing, I guess, with my mom, air tennis or something like that. And yeah.
So then you I guess you went through education and then came out of education and decided what you just wanted to get into travel. Was that kind of an easy flowing thing?
I think it was more the normal process that I didn't know what to do. And I still had also another opportunity, which was much more business focused, running Obi, one of the home worker markets. This would have been a long education further. I had the opportunity to do this, or really becoming a travel agent. And I decided to go more for the passion instead of for the money and for the business. And I've done a little job on the side, just like in the holidays, in a travel agency, just like to test it. And so it felt quite normal to go to the travel agency again. But I think it was also because I had no other bigger plans. Yeah, and like I said, with the home worker market, it just didn't feel right from heart. And that's how I became a travel agent. And I always explain being a travel agent a bit like, in the end, it's a sales job. You sell something. But a friend of mine who was in the insurance business, when he went to people, he had to go to people to sell insurances. But every time when he came, and they kept on distance to him because he wanted their money. And you don't love buying insurances. But in the end, it's a sales job, just like being a travel agent. Only with the difference as a travel agent, the people come to you, and the more money they can spend, the happier they are. Yeah. So it's actually a relatively easy sales job. And I've never been a salesperson, but I always lived just from my passion for traveling. And so when I had clients who wanted the 3-star all-inclusive resort somewhere on the Palma de Mallorca, Tunisia, Egypt, or I don't know what, I had trouble really to sell them to them. But if it was a really interesting trip, maybe through Portugal, with a road trip through Andalusia, or maybe to Africa, to America, that's I was not selling, I was just sharing my passion for these kind of trips. And I felt a bit like a Samarita, providing the customer the best time of the year, the holiday.
Yeah, nice. And what kind of, tell us a little bit about the journey from there then to starting TravelDudes. How did that kind of come about?
We had the big crisis in the travel agent, or there was, after 9/11, obviously there was this huge crisis, and everything went a bit down, and also the travel agencies had a really tough time. And I've been working at Hapag-Lloyd, which is now known as BCD Travel, and they were quite a positive, good, strong company. And instead of firing all the people, they came up with a solution, because they realized, okay, we got really good stuff and we want to keep them, but we can't afford it. So they came up with the idea to pay the people money to not going to work. So instead of the full salary, they just paid 500, 800 euros or something like that. And you could take half a year timeout. And that's what I've done. I've taken the money. I had some savings already for traveling the world. And with the money I got, I was able to pay my rent in Cologne. And then we traveled through Indochina, the typical backpacker road with Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. And we traveled for 3 months. And that's a friend of mine who joined me. He started to build on TravelDudes. So we both had the idea, but he's not really a developer, programmer, but he had some skills. So we started an online travel diary, which was called TravelDudes.
Okay, right, nice. So did you... What kind of time are we talking here? This is kind of early 2000s, is it, when you...
2004.
Yeah. Okay.
It was 2004. And it was interesting because when it was really just meant that our family can join. I guess travel blogs already existed, but I had no clue of that. And so we had this website, and we were just writing a kind of diary, and my family, they were reading it and they were sharing it to friends, and we got really good positive feedback. And so we started to keep on going with that, and we had lots of fun with that. Nice. But very, very quickly we realized it's not just about us and about our travel diaries and our experiences. It's also like when you travel, you get the best tips from other travelers or from locals. And so we started also to share travel tips. And the next step was, it's not just about our travel tips. There are so many travelers who have far more experience than us, who have seen far more from the world. So we said, okay, let's start a community and everyone can share their travel tips. And the idea was brilliant, but no one cared. So It was us writing the travel tips because it was the beginning of everything. And so I was like, but I realized, it's so much fun, and okay, let's keep on going. So while being a travel agent in the evenings, I was pushing the website, writing tips, and sharing my idea. So from that moment, the site grew bigger and bigger, and sooner or later, people joined writing tips, and it got always bigger.
So we're back in that time when you started it off. Then you mentioned your friend was not a developer-ish, part-time, sort of part-time self-taught. Did you launch it on a Blogspot or a WordPress or something, or did you just come up with something yourself?
No, we used Joomla as content management system, and then later we moved to Drupal, which is more community-based. And that was really just like the beginning. But it was very, very simple. The design was quite good. It was like this green background, a bit of yellow. It was good. So we tried to stick to it, though we changed the colors completely now. It was 2004. It felt like the very, very early days of the internet. Obviously, it's not. It was the 90s, but like looking back now, and you see how website perform now, and all you get for websites, it's a complete different area.
Yeah, and it sounded like, you mentioned you kind of moved the focus to getting travel tips from thinking about getting them from other people, not just you. Was that all in that first phase? It sounds like you kind of, I don't know, you sort of realized there was an opportunity there quite early on to turn this into something that, more people would be interested in.
Well, we had this one experience that was actually before we started with TravelDudes. I got as a travel agent, you get really good deals for flights, at least at those days. So I got a flight to Bangkok, and we just went for 1 week. It sounds ridiculous with time zones and stuff like that, but we got on the plane, got there, and at the moment you were there, you already realized it was totally worth it. And then we traveled around Thailand for 1 week, more or less rushing through, but having a great experience. And that was actually the first backpacking trip I had. Before, it was more like road trip journeys and these kind of holiday experiences. And but that one was the first backpacking one. And I remember we were sitting in a night train, talking to some other travelers, sharing some tips, and it was such a good night, having a beer with it, and that was a really, really nice evening. But suddenly a guy came in, and he was like, I guess he was kind of, I don't know what was wrong with him, but he was kind of jealous. But so he started really showing off that we were the greenhorns, which we were. And he was just showing off how well traveled he was. And this was turning me off so much. And I realized, no, that's something you never really want to become. No matter how much you have traveled, it's not about showing off. It's really about sharing your experience and to encourage other people, to help them to have a better time. And that's something which stick to my mind all the time. And that's also when I remembered again when we started TravelDudes. And that's like I said, the process of first our own diaries about travel, then sharing tips, and realizing very soon, no, it's not about us, it's about travel. Let's get other people on board. And obviously, you have journalists who get paid for writing travel tips and articles. And when I first approached them, they said, sorry, but it's a great idea, but I can't do this for free. And which I understood. So I kept writing myself. Then I got in contact with other bloggers who started writing travel tips for TravelDudes. And so TravelDudes grew bigger and bigger. And it didn't take that long, after 2-3 years, when I approached the same people who first said, no, sorry, I can't do that. When I approached them again, they said, oh yeah, sure, I would love to write for TravelDudes.
Yeah.
And still without paying. But that's when I find out what the trick is. It's about value. So money is one value, but it could be also something else. So as a community, you can't pay really the community to share content, but what you can do is like provide another value. So TravelDudes was already quite big on Twitter. So I was and that's what I'm still doing. I promote the bloggers on Twitter. So they get a similar value back. So they get a link back to their website. I promote them on Pinterest and on Instagram and wherever. So it's more really like sharing value exchange.
Yeah. Okay. And which I think I'll pick up with you a little bit later on, Melvin, on that front. Tell us just how did it go? Like the detail between you having it as a thing. Did you go back to work? Did you have something that you were kind of going back to, or did it just carry on? Did it just flow from doing that?
No, we started 2004 with TravelDudes, and 2006, we still had the crisis in the travel agency, like everywhere, and it got worse and worse. And well, the first couple of years in the crisis, I remember my boss, who was brilliant. She was really ace. I really liked her. But whenever there was a change in the company, she said, oh, just be lucky, just be happy that you are still having a job. And she was also correct with that. Like, obviously, it's very hard to get a company through a crisis, so there need to be changes. But after so many years, I didn't catch this phrase anymore. For me, it was not serious anymore. So like when my colleagues were complaining about the situation, I went to them and I meant it as a joke, and I told them, hey, I mean, just be happy that you still have a job. And they looked at me like very curious and strange. And that's like when I realized, oh, they don't get it. That was not like, that was a joke. And I realized at that moment, I'm in the wrong position. I'm in the wrong spot. I need to leave the company. So then the company offered me actually to leave, and I got like a good payment at the end. And so I already had like money saved. We wanted to do another trip through Down Under, through Australia, New Zealand. Everything was already planned. And I even had my resign papers already ready, and I had 1 week left to quit my job. And at that the last week, my boss said, okay, you know what? We have to close down your old office, and we have to fire 2 of 4 people. But they didn't want to get fired. So I went to my boss and said, you know what? Instead of firing them, fire me. And that's what they did. So I got the payment at the end. Right. And with that money, I was able to buy us a 4x4 in Australia. We had the rest of the money already.
Nice.
And yeah, that's so like leaving the travel agency was the best time. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Fantastic. So you decided you were going to kind of leave the permanent job and go full time on the road, Melvin. Did you have a business plan when you started out doing that? Obviously, it was fairly early on, so I guess there wasn't the professional blogger kind of idea out there at that time. What was your plan?
Well, I realized from running TravelDudes before and already having the success that there's more potential. The success was not really money, so I doubt that we made really any money to that time, but I realized there's far more potential. The success, you can see success in many different ways, just like, I mean, looking at social media, getting likes and retweets, that's also a success, reaching a lot of people. So I realized that there's far more potential, and then going down under to Australia, New Zealand, I realized I'm going to use this time to build up the business. So I'm using this to build up a lot of content. I've got a friend who works for the BBC, who is a director, who got me into video producing a bit. He gave me some really good tips. I got more information about that. So I already loved video before, but I've never done it. But with his help, it was tiny tips, but they make really the difference. So I used already the trip through Australia, New Zealand to produce videos, to write a lot of articles and travel tips for TravelDudes. And we got back after half a year. And then when I started the company and worked full time on it, and just like keep pushing it full time makes a big difference, obviously.
Yeah. So you were, I guess you were pushing, like you say, on content and things like that. At what point did it, I don't know, you kind of touched on before how it changed from people not wanting to do something for the site to other people really wanting to do it. At what point did you kind of feel like you had a tipping point where you went from just a guy who was writing on his blog to something that people really wanted to read?
The change was having 30,000 followers on Twitter, and which was pretty much the same amount like Lonely Planet. And that's like, it was very interesting to see. We always have been on a very similar level for the first 3-4 years or something like that. And at some point they just took off and now they are in a complete different league again. Which is still like very surprising. I don't know what they have done. They came very surprisingly this big step forward, because when you've been following or being in the similar amount of followers all the time for years, and suddenly they in just like a couple of months they have like double and triple. It's like, hey, what have they done, right? Yeah. I still don't know, and I don't want to accuse them of anything bad, but that's like, hey, what happened? In the end, they just need to do good marketing using their channels, and that's like how you can achieve that. But I don't know if they've done it, but that was good to see. But that made also for me like the success was always being in this kind of a top league on Twitter. So when I tweet something like a travel tip and I add the profile of someone else, the bloggers came back to me and said, oh, it's awesome. I get new followers every time you tweet. And that provides a value. So like, for example, if I would get a journalist writing a nice article for TravelDudes and maybe add some photos, you pay something, depending on who you work with, but something between 100 and 150, maybe 300 euros. In Germany, you would pay even more. But if you put a value on a tweet, some would put a value like 150, 200, 300 euros on a single tweet. I guess over the time now it got a bit less. But at that moment, you see that it's like a similar value. And I never told people what the value is, but I think that people felt it and appreciated this. And this was, especially in the early days of social media, it was really about sharing and helping each other. And that's like what made the success, and which I still see where you have opportunities. Instead of getting in competition, it's about working together and finding ways to help each other, especially in the travel industry.
Yeah,
we are not bankers. We are not insurance. It's not about competition. It's really about the passion for and passion for travel.
Yeah, I've seen you talk about this, a fair bit, and I totally agree. I think there is, like you say, it's not, even if you take it to a tour operator level that specializes in a different country, it's not kind of those two people competing. It's like, yeah, one year someone will want to go to this place, and then the next year they'll want to go to another place, and it's kind of just harboring that love for doing something, and there's room for everyone to benefit. It's not kind of a zero-sum game with it. What have you done then to sort of foster that feeling? Are there specific things that you've done to try and make that happen, to, like you say, to share the value with others, to get others to share the value with you?
It's a lot of communication in the end. I mean, it's up to me to approach the people I want to work with. So whenever I see someone on Twitter and I think they have potential in sharing good travel tips, then I approach them and I ask them, hey, would you be interested? This is like what I have in mind. And then I send them an email, and I would say to 98% I get like really positive responses, and a success rate maybe of 60, 80. I've never calculated. It would be interesting, but I guess 60, 80% of the people really come back and write a really good travel tip.
Yeah, I think when you go down that route, you realize that basically people are very open to it. I think people that, and the way that people often go wrong with this is that they think about what they want, and they immediately approach people and say, hey, I want to get this. I want to write a guest post on your website, or I want to do this. Whereas if they approach it in more of a giving way or more of a sharing way, then people are suddenly much more open to that. So I guess to your example there of approaching people saying, do you want to kind of write a travel tip and get exposure to this big huge audience, that's obviously much more appealing than just being asked if they want to give free content.
Yeah, and it's such a simple way. I mean, I'm surprised that not more people do it. Obviously, at some point, especially when running a business, money plays a big factor as well and a big value. I mean, you need to pay your bills and your invoices you get and your team and stuff like that. But on the other side, there's always room really just like to find good agreements to work together. For example, when, let's say, a big airline, Lufthansa, would approach me and say, hey, would you be interested to write a travel tip on an article for Lufthansa? Obviously, I know how much money they make, and I would first try to get paid for it. But on the other side, when they say, okay, unfortunately, we don't have a budget right now for this, would you still be interested? Then I would say no, unless they might include me in their newsletter or in a different kind of way, or when this article will get printed on the onboard magazine, and it will show like TravelDudes, especially maybe in a digital version with a link and stuff like that. Yeah. And at that moment, I get a value back, and then I can decide again, okay, is it worth it or not? And so it's really more also this focus on this kind of barter agreements. Sure, at some point you need to make also some money, but also there you can help each other with that.
Yeah, and it's kind of the different stages of the lifespan of this, the website or the business or whatever, where obviously early on you need to give a little more than you can take because you don't have as much to offer. Whereas obviously further down the line, if you've spent the time and the effort building up that visibility and that profile, then, suddenly you're a more attractive proposition and you can focus on demanding more.
At the beginning days, you do everything for free, which is normal. You're happy to get well, also there again, when talking about blogging, there's always these two ways. You got the hobby bloggers, that's like most blogs started like that, traveling the world, sharing the experience, realizing you have more potential, and then you become a semi-pro blogger, maybe already making a bit of money with it, but not a proper income. Maybe you get even invited to press trips so you can travel for free, which is amazing. I mean, just imagine most people pay to travel the world. Suddenly you write a website and you get invited to explore a destination. And the first time you get something like that, you say, wow, this is amazing. It's so super cool. The more successful you get, obviously you get more invited on free trips and you still can't pay your bills because you don't make any money. So at some point, and when you get to the next step where you have even more value to provide, you can charge even money for that. And that's like when you do destination marketing. Running a travel blog, I mean, promoting a destination is relatively easy because you go into a destination and it's simply a good destination. There aren't any bad destinations. There's bad experiences you can have personally, but it's not really the fault of the destination. I had that in Croatia. I had a really bad trip there. Everyone I tell that, no, you can't say that to Croatia. It's my favorite country in Europe. I know that, but my experience wasn't that good. So when I go back, I know Croatia is much better than my experience. So selling travel is relatively easy, and it gets more complicated when you get to products. And if you want to make money selling a product, I once had that as a carry-on luggage. And they provided me one to do a review, to test it. And I opened it, I wanted to stand it up, and it always fell down again. And it was like, wow, that's I tried to get the best bag from them, and it's always falling over. So you get to the counter of a check-in at an airline, you want to get out your mobile, your ticket or something like that, and your bag falls over. It's that can't be true. Yeah. And that's what can happen with products and not with a destination. Yeah. Or if you take a car, if you want to do a road trip and you work maybe with Fiat and they give you a Fiat Panda, which was my first car. I loved it, but in the end, it's not a really good car. So it will be hard to promote a Fiat Panda on a road trip. It's tiny, it's hard. But if they give you a Ferrari, it's easy to promote. Yeah. And that's so different to destinations. So it's very easy to promote destinations. Yeah. Well, and then you come to the next step, that you are traveling and you make money traveling. And just imagine, people normally pay, then you get free trips, which is amazing, and suddenly you make money traveling the world and writing about that. I mean, the travel journalists, that's what they do, TV production. It's not just bloggers. Obviously, there's so many more. But this is like a dream coming true. And what a lot of people haven't realized is there's even a step above that. And I always try to explain that to the bloggers. And the top level is when you pay for travel again, which means holiday. So you run a blog that's successful that you can afford yourself a holiday, that you don't need to write anymore, you don't need to production, because like doing destination marketing and these press trips, and if it's paid or not, it's great, it's awesome, it's a lot of fun, but it's also work. It's not a holiday, it's not your own plan, it's not your own itinerary. You have to really take a lot of different ways of, it feels obviously very different. Still great, but a holiday is still better.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. I think that, in this world of, whether it's professional bloggers or influencers, kind of people wanting to use social media as a career, like as soon as you put yourself under that spotlight and that is your career, it's very difficult to then separate it from, like you say, just normal life, holidays, those things. And there's a risk that you can almost kind of ruin the passion because it turns into the career, which is an easy trap to fall into, I think. Tell us a little bit more about TravelDudes as it is now then. So what's the setup, Melvin? Is it just you? Do you kind of employ staff? How do things look on that front?
Over the time, and I was lucky enough really to be successful also from making money. And instead of getting myself an apartment in New York City, one in London, and I don't know what, like I've always invested into the business. And investing it into the business means into a team, which made the company even more successful. And having like help people really just like to help me with it. Starts with the first position I had like was for social media. Someone supporting me with that because like I was tweeting every hour, which means I schedule the tweets. We do all the stuff manually. I don't like to have this stuff automated. I want to keep control and to have it in a really good quality. I want to make sure that it goes out like that. So it's more work. But like, especially in social media where the time is so quick and everything which is older, like 2-3 days, you can forget this kind of content. So you need to tweet a lot. And that's what I've done every hour. I was tweeting 1-3 tweets over years. And finding a good person who is able to do that is also very tricky because you really need to rely on them. And you don't want to always check if they have done the right thing. And on the weekend, have they scheduled something or not, or maybe something different. So that was a bit different, difficult to find the right person. But at the moment I had that, that was one of the nicest steps to do in this business career, growing the team bigger and bigger, the more money you had, and to share the success also with your dream team. So over the last couple of years, we really created a dream team of 10-12 people. Not everyone full-time, lot with freelance, because I try really to, that's also one of the things, like I could easily have like 3-4 full-time employees of that, but I try really to include more people and that everyone is in a role they really love and prefer. So also there again, it needs to be their passion. So if I get someone to do the social media scheduling and but they don't like it, it's no good. And so you need to build this team. And now I've got like a couple of video camera guys, different presenters, some 2 running social media, 2-3 people for editing. Well, right now we have the crisis. It looks a bit different again with this damn coronavirus, but altogether, like growing up this team, and I can really say that I've got a dream team over all those years. And
yeah, nice. How do you find managing them? So you've mentioned obviously finding the right people is so important, and people who have the passion. Are you kind of quite heavily involved in each of their, what they're doing, or do you just give them a general brief and say, right, off you go and get it done?
I pretty much give them, well, it's a mix of both. So when you are in this job, I mean, you are traveling a lot. I go to many conferences where I speak, where I also share my experience. And then you have the evening events where you meet a lot of people. And then, well, you just chat. And then so many times you realize, oh, wow, this is this moment now where you see potential. And then obviously, well, you simply ask them, hey, would you be interested? Or like 1 or 2 weeks later, I approached them again and said, would you be interested to help me with TravelDudes? With actually no idea of what they've been doing and if they are capable of doing that. But it's really because of this conversation and seeing what they have done, you get this feeling of they can do it or not. And also there, I think pretty much 80-90% I was right with this kind of feelings and making the decisions like that. It doesn't happen always at the right moment or like right away. For example, one of also a friend of mine, Dave, from the UK, we were traveling through Finland in the winter after a conference, and we were sitting in a hot tub after the sauna and having a beer.
Where all good conversations happen.
Yes, and suddenly, well, I realized, wow, what Dave is doing, there's so much potential. I want to work with him together. So we started on a project which was already a good idea, but it didn't really work out. I think it was the wrong timing. We might give it another try in future. But I still felt, okay, this one didn't work out. Let's try something else. And he got this he's just such a great guy. So I thought, okay, I'm doing videos. I want Dave as a presenter. And that was one of the best decisions because he's a great presenter and it's great traveling together with him, producing travel videos.
Yeah, nice. I think one of the, that kind of thing of the way you've done it off the back of meeting people and understand kind of almost like knowing what they've done before and then sort of seeing that they're the right kind of person and then bringing them into the business that way is a great way to do it. I mean, a bit trickier potentially as a, I guess a more traditional business, that sits in an office all the time. But that's one of the things I always look out for when we're hiring people is, have they done something themselves? Do they have a side project they've worked on? Is there something that shows that, kind of shows off what their skills are rather than just a traditional, oh yeah, I've worked at this place and I worked at this place and I worked at this place. Like, I think you definitely see a lot, and that's a benefit of, anyone who comes from a blogging background is they've kind of got off their arse themselves and they've done something off their own back, and it's a very clear illustration of what they're capable of. Yes,
absolutely, I agree. And I think it's like with so many projects, and it's similar with working with other people, it's trial and error. It needs to fit. And sometimes, I mean, the most success, I think it comes through that. I mean, you have to try many different things and you don't know if it's successful unless you try it. And a lot of those things you tried might have not been successful. And then you do it something else. And that's the same with when you work with other people. I mean, like in my position, I never had like an investor or like a credit to start big. It was always growing naturally, organically. So I was forced to work with freelancers. So we always had this big freedom between each other. And so when they weren't happy, they simply stepped out. In the same way with me, which made it very easy. Now I'm in a position like, hopefully after the crisis, when everything goes back to normal again, I wouldn't have a problem to really hire one of my team members also full-time. But only after already working with them for so many years and knowing what they do and how it works. And I think in the normal job world where, well, you get all those emails applying for jobs and job interviews, it's something different. I think it's very difficult to find the right people that way. And obviously it's, and it's, of course, you don't really want to hire people. You don't want to really to fire people. It's a very tough decision the normal regular companies are in. So I'm actually very happy the way I was able to grow so far also with the team. And it's the same, like at the moment, like just like recently, I was thinking of growing and using the current crisis to grow even much bigger as TravelDudes. And I've been speaking to my team members, and every time I try to get them involved even more, a lot of time they say, we love what you do, but no, let's keep on working the same way. They also want to keep their freedom, and which is very unusual. And I get the complete support, but they would never say, no, actually, I don't even want to become a partner. I prefer the way it is, no matter how successful we are. It's very strange sometimes.
Yeah.
And,
I guess it goes back to the passion versus, what do you view success as? And, for a lot of people, it's not just getting money or getting, a bigger job role or something like that. It's like they just want to do what they do and have freedom and,
Absolutely. And also there again, like most of my people I work with in my team, they've been working even for free for TravelDudes because they believed in what I was doing. Like Bridget, who's now obviously I pay her, but like in the first couple of years, she helped me editing. Whenever she had time and fun, she helped me editing some articles which came in. And I needed the support, and I wished I would have been able to pay her right from the beginning, but I simply had no chance. But we grow the business together, and she did an amazing job over all those years. And at the moment money comes in, I'm always happy, really just like to forward money to her and to involve her more and more. And the more I can pay her, the better it is for everyone. And also for me, I've got less editing work myself. And she's more successful. She gets more money. The business is more successful because we've got lots of work. So it's like sharing the success and the money is actually always like when I get an invoice from one of my team members, I always love paying it right away because I know it's the right process. It's the right way.
Nice. Yeah. Tell us a bit more about your day-to-day, Melvin, then. So how, obviously the team are coming in there. I guess there's a bit more management coming into it. You mentioned conferences. What's your... How does your day-to-day look on a kind of, I dare I say, a normal week?
Well, the normal week is sitting in front of the desk, into the computer, writing emails, writing messages to my team. That's also like my team. Sometimes it would be nice really to have a team right in the next room where you can tap them. I'm missing that also like from my travel agent days. But on the other side, like finding the right people, I'm sitting on the countryside outside of Cologne. I wouldn't find the right people here. They would have to travel for quite a bit, like 1 hour to get here with the right people maybe. And now I've got like one team member is in Düsseldorf, one is in Hamburg, one is, there's in Cape Town, in Joburg, so all on Madeira, in the UK too, so one in Amsterdam. So it's all over the world. So the trick is you need to really keep a very honest and good communication. And that's what I'm trying. That's my job pretty much. So it's like communicating with the team as best as possible. You can always improve that. There's always time where it's not running very good and you need to communicate even more. But altogether, I think we found a really good way of that. And then obviously most of the times I'm writing emails. It's like quite boring, I would say, but I still enjoy it, and I think I love communicating. And this is like managing everything. It's like a lot of emails, and and then obviously you get the campaigns, and that's always like a bit risky because at the moment you run a campaign and you travel into a destination to produce a video, I'm focused 100% on that. I'm not checking emails. So everything else is laid back. And it needs to be because you stand up in the morning at 6, 7 o'clock and have a very quick breakfast, maybe just scan the emails, but then you have breakfast and then you are out in the field filming videos. And even lunch and dinner time is when you work because you film those again. And then you might head back to the hotel, maybe have a quick shower, but then you go out into nightlife because you might want to film that. And even if you don't want to film that, you still want to experience and enjoy the destination. For me, it's like very important to also like just have some fun time. And so you come back at 11, 12, if not 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, you get like 4 hours sleep and then you have to get up again. So this 1 week or a couple of days producing videos, it's an amazing time, but it's also really, really, really a tough time somehow. So when you come back again, then you are 3 weeks at home and then you have to deal with all the business. You have to work on the videos. You have to make sure that your videographer is like, well, I don't need to make sure he's doing an amazing job, but then you have the communication still there. You have to send the videos to the client. Then all the emails which came in the last week, you have to handle those. So it's like I'm living in 2 worlds. I'm living in front of my PC, having my home office with my family in the same building, which is amazing. Gives me a lot of quality and lifetime. also a lot of noise in between. Like, obviously, when you write emails, they come in, you have a video call, will happen maybe any time in the year. They come in. It's annoying at that moment sometimes, but a lot of times it just also gives you the quality and the life I really love. Instead of going to the office in the car for 1 hour, it's like 2 hours of time I have with my family again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree with that. I guess again, like the pandemic has shown, sort of illustrated what we were missing a little bit on that front. You've been sort of blessed with the fact that you were kind of in that situation anyway. I think a lot of people who did obviously used to go to the office have almost stumbled into that and realised the benefits of it. Interestingly, one of your points on having the team as well, to what you were saying earlier on there, I think one of the interesting conversations that has happened through the pandemic has been about the remote work and how this is the new world and everyone can just work from home. But I've almost had kind of the opposite feeling of the quality of time that you get with people kind of when you're all in one room really does make a difference. It's kind of emphasized it to me how important it is to have that time when you're all together. Like you say, it's tricky depending on where you are and kind of the balance of what works for different people. But yeah.
So often I would also like to have an office, and for me it makes simply no sense. So I got used to the situation here, but I still have those kind of thoughts again and again all the time, because it's a people's job. I mean, traveling, it's not just about the destination, but it's about the people you meet, and that's the same like in the job itself. It's like having a good team. It would be great to see your team more often and to work on stuff. I think you can create even better results like that. But it needs to fit. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So tell us a bit more about kind of the marketing things that you've done that have helped TravelDudes grow. So you've talked about the Twitter side of things, and obviously kind of being, I guess, a bit of an early adopter and picking up steam with Twitter had a massive impact on your growth. Is there anything else in particular that you think has really helped you grow over the years?
Well, at the beginning when I started with TravelDudes, and that, like, I joined Twitter after 1 year it existed, and at that time there was nothing really on the German market, and TravelDudes was running, I think, in German and in English. But then I made the decision to completely switch to English because of social media. And I had no marketing budget. My marketing budget was my time. So I invested a lot of time on those channels, building those up, especially Twitter, then also Facebook. And I hated when Instagram came up because they started only on the iPhone. And I didn't like the policy and the way Apple was handling their business. So I didn't buy an iPhone. And it took them, I think, a year or more until they opened it for Android, which I hated. I mean, why would you do that, right? And I was so much behind after I was missing out a complete year on Instagram. But then we picked it up there as well. So a lot of the early years, it was investing all the time into the social media channels. And I remember, like, my first marketing budget, I think it was like 50 euros, which I spent on advertising. I think it might be Facebook or something like that. And that was already when I was quite successful, but we didn't need it. But that was like when the algorithms picked up, and when you suddenly had to, it's so ridiculous if you think about that. So you build up an audience, you invest a lot of time on a channel which profits from it, and suddenly they turn it around and you have to start paying money to reach your audience, which you have built up for them, which they profit from anyway. So actually, they should like pay us money to run Facebook, right? But they got it to a point where they just simply turned it around, thanks to the algorithms. And this is like, well, you adapt to it. I mean, the thing is, you do it or you leave it, right? And for me, it's still like this mix. So sometimes you pay to reach the audience which you build up. And most of the time I still try to not do it, but like to keep it organic. But like if you really want to have a big success, well, you can do it quite smartly. So you see the content which performs well, and then you advertise a bit more there. Because, that's also the difference of not doing it as a hobby anymore. It's a business. So you need to see the business sides of that, and that's marketing. That's like you spend for advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the community's been kind of at the heart of what you've done as well. You have gone, from those early days of just kind of inviting people to write travel tips. Now there's so many people who have come in and kind of been part of TravelDudes that I guess that's, that in itself, whether you look at it as a marketing tactic or however, it's like it's done a great job in that sense.
Well, and also there again, they help to promote TravelDudes. So you write a tip for someone. Obviously, you want to share it. You're proud of what you have written. Well, you should be. Otherwise, why have you written it, right? So it gets published somewhere. So you're going to promote it. You promote it on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest. So you help to promote TravelDudes. But at the same moment, you promote yourself because it's your own profile and it's your own your own. Well, you build your own audience on a different channel again. So you promote TravelDudes, but in the end, you promote yourself. And that's also there again, like when I have a travel blogger writing an article for TravelDudes, I list them on a RSS feed and I get their articles, which I promote through TravelDudes again. And that's again where I provide a value back. So we are also very successful on Pinterest. So their articles and their travel tips, we promote them through our Pinterest boards.
Yeah.
Or on Twitter and other channels.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there... I've seen you talk about kind of advertising equivalent value and things like that a fair bit. Can you give us your thoughts on that in the sense of, kind of how you view that for when you're getting, if you're getting coverage for things down the line, on a campaign or for other bloggers or something like that. How do you view those numbers?
We had these discussions from the beginning. It's like you have this big audience and you have bigger audiences than maybe newspapers where they work with 20, 30, 50 people full time. And you do this alone as a single travel blogger, but you can't pay your invoices, more or less. So it's always like the survival game, especially when you start being like a semi-professional blogger where you already have potential and you make some money. But you realize that you need to get paid and you provide a big value, but you can't put a number on that. And I still see that all over. It always gets back to understanding the value which you can provide and for your content on and for your promotion. So when you write an article, you can put a value on that. Depending on the market, this can be 100 euros, maybe it's even 400 euros for writing an article. So that's already like a price you can work with. Then you put it online and people read it. So if you have an audience and no matter where your audience is, if you have a big audience on your website, that's the best because, you handle your website yourself. You don't rely on others, not on the algorithm of Facebook and Instagram and these kind of things. Look at all the influencers who build up a big audience, mostly are paid and bought, but they have this big audience, and then suddenly they change the algorithm and all your audience is gone. So, and also the people, when you work with influencers, that's like, you got content, especially stories. How ridiculous that's. You post something and the content is dead after 24 hours because it's deleted. You can't use it anymore. And the reach is also far less. I've seen the statistics of that. The reach in stories is not existing as in normal Instagram posts. But even better is obviously an article which creates value over many, many years and builds up traffic over years more and more. So you have this traffic and you have this audience. So on top of the article, you can add another value, which is the promotion. I once did a calculation because that's was the early days when I realized about this problem we have. I went to a cruise magazine and I looked up their advertising of a single page. And this magazine had a distribution of 40,000, 50,000 printed magazines, something like that. And they were charging 600 euros. No, they charge actually far more. It was thousands. But when you calculated it for the people reading this this magazine, I calculated into the digital format, which is 1,000 views, CPM, cost per views, per impressions. Sorry. So when I calculated this price into CPM, it was 600 euros for 1,000 views. And when you go into digital advertising, it's very hard to get a banner advertising selling it for $10, 10 euros. And something like that. It's unbelievable. So like if at the moment you would be able to sell a banner for 40 euros, which is still like so far off from the 600, you would have no problem dealing and as running a business as a travel blogger. And that's when I realized, okay, in the digital world, they haven't understood their value because 1,000 readers are 1,000 readers. Doesn't matter if it's online or print.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, I guess it's something that's sort of consistently changing and people are getting better and better at understanding where the value is. But I think there's still very much a mentality of people being a bit stuck in having a physical thing that they can touch almost to give something more value when, again, at the end of the day, you just want the eyeballs of potential customers, don't you, that can see it. What would you say, Melvin, so if you were talking to a small travel business, how would you recommend them get the most out of doing something, like that? If they're put in front of them with they've got some money to spend, not a huge amount. How would you suggest kind of using that to get the biggest impact?
The process, what I do is I can work pretty much with any budget. So when someone comes to me and says, okay, I've got 1,000 euros, I've got 5,000 euros, I've got 10,000 euros, that's what I use. I see the value, I calculate, I know what value I can provide. I know my prices, and I'm not guessing them. That's I'm comparing them with other prices. I can calculate that. I created many years ago an own algorithm for that. So I can see, okay, when I've got 1,000 budget, obviously I always want to provide them the best results I can offer without overcharging and not charging enough as well, obviously. So I see for 1,000 euros, I can offer maybe 4 tweets, 1 article, 1 teaser video. I don't know. I'm just coming up with something now. But I see the value, and the moment they double their value, their budget to 2,000, I can add more. And I'm not guessing. And then again, I can see, okay, the Facebook costs 100 euros or 150 euros when you have more exposure. And when you reach more people, obviously you can charge more. And that's you can it's a simple agreement then. And but it's very important that you simply understand and know your own value, not together, but of all the single posts and services you offer.
Yeah, I think going back to just something you touched on before as well was you were saying about getting the kind of long-term value rather than a story which disappears and you almost invest the time and effort into putting that story together and then it's gone and you can't use it for anything anymore. Whereas, something like that, that combination of, I guess, kind of social push that is a bit more in the moment and getting something out there, but then also having content tied into that, I think is a really important part because you do get the longer term benefit. So again, if you have an article that's on TravelDudes and you get a link from it, then you're consistently going to have the benefit SEO wise from the link. Or if that article on TravelDudes ranks well in the search engines, you potentially will get traffic to that page that mentions you. And so again, you get kind of an ongoing benefit. And I think it's more and more important that, and it's one of the beauties of the kind of digital side of things, is that you can create things like that which provide ongoing benefit long into the future. And it's not just here's this month's magazine, a person might read it once and then it's gone, and then it's not printed again, so that's that. It's kind of it's cumulative, that builds.
Well, I think also there again, stories, they might work. So let's say you create a story which get deleted after 24 hours, but you reach 10,000 people. Then it's awesome. If you would have had a normal post and you only reach 2,000 people, obviously then you go for the stories. But 98% of the people don't have it like that. Most stories, I've seen all the stats, most stories don't reach the people. I've seen two bloggers who run it very successful, all the others not. So you invest a lot of time into dead content. And a lot of people still request the stories, also from the tourism boards and marketing agencies. And I don't know why. I mean, just like think about what you do. You want to reach people. Don't do it only because it's hip and a hype. And everyone is doing stories. Yeah, let everyone do stories and waste their time. But think, where do you get the most value of? Obviously, when a tourism board doesn't approach me, when they approach me, they can't know. But they can ask me. And it's my job as a travel blogger to tell them, we can do stories, but I would recommend you not to do that. Like, let me give you the exposure in the best way I can do it for you.
Because it depends what the people are doing at the other end. So if you're running a story and it's driving someone to, someone's website, and there's a bit of a difference here between, I guess, where you're marketing a destination a lot of the time with what you're doing, where it is very much just awareness and, I guess, desire to visit that destination. I guess if you're a tour operator or an accommodation website or something like that, I'm thinking those stories might be good, but you need something at the other end that when you drive that awareness, that you capture those people when they come to you, that it's not just a transient thing, that the story drives them to you. They look at you and then tomorrow they've forgotten about you because they didn't take any action. So you need some sort of content at your side to capture the people once you've driven the awareness as well. And I think that's again something that people often sort of miss and forget about, is that they kind of just want the awareness and they sort of forget about the fact that the value for money comes if you grab onto those people and keep them longer term, rather than just having them aware of you for a day or a 5-10 second moment in time.
Well, and there's many different ways how you can drive conversions and bring them to to drive traffic. You don't need the stories. You can do that in a normal Instagram post as well, or on Twitter, or on Facebook. For example, what we do is we've done videos for many, many years, but since the last 3 years, we changed our format completely again, by not filming ourselves anymore like the vlogger style, but we have someone, now we've got camera guys who film my presenters, and the quality changes so much, it gets so much better. And I'm still surprised that not more people invest when they do a campaign and invest into a camera person, because you suddenly, you get to the stage of running a production. So we have our own travel show now. And so we create videos which are 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes long. But obviously you don't get an audience on that on the digital channels like Facebook and Instagram. So what we do is create little teaser videos, maybe only 8 seconds long, maybe 10 or 20 seconds long, but 8 seconds is enough, where you just have the presenters talking into the camera, hey, I'm having a great time here in blah, 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 and click on the link to find and to see more of our video. And so and if you advertise these little teaser videos, you reach hundreds of thousands of people, and it's quantity. But because it's just like this little teaser, and he got the call to action to go onto your website to the long video, you suddenly might have only 100, 200, 500 or 1,000 people who watches the long video. But that's the quality traffic and the quality travelers who you actually want to run. So you got a big inspirational phase with a lot of quantity, exposure, and then you use that to drive traffic and quality traffic, which is far less, but that's the ones you're really after.
Yeah, absolutely. You have done in many forms, and I think it ties in with the whole kind of sharing and, or sort of tit for tat kind of approach that you've talked about, the partnership approach. So whether that's with individuals and them writing for you and you giving them something back, or whether that's kind of things, I guess, more in a commercial sense where you've done partnerships with destinations or campaign style things, or things more specifically for you where you've obviously done stuff with ITB and Travel Massive. I was looking at something like that when I was doing the research. Tell us what do you think makes a partnership work? Have you got any tips on how best to get the most out of a partnership?
The same again, it's about sharing values. Like I'm very happy at the moment. ITB, I mean, is the biggest travel trade fair in the world. So when I can share my experience there, normally as a speaker, I would get a fee between 2,000, 5,000 euros or something like that. Especially being a pioneer. But like, I mean, it's a fact. I mean, like, I don't want to stand out, but like, I've got so much experience collected over all those years, and I'm happy to share it. So normally I would charge for this, but like at the on the other side, like at the moment, I'm standing on the stage on ITB, and I got an audience of 200, 500, 800 people in front of me. That's a big value for me. And I'm not telling them, but maybe I would even pay them. No, but then it goes the wrong way again. But that's like it's a barter agreement. Like they respect and value what I can offer, and I value it in the same way. And when there's a different conference, and I'm not sure like if they can really provide me the same kind of value, I will start charging. And yeah, it's simple as that. I mean, it's like always, also here again, all about the value.
Yeah. You touched on this, like the speaking side of things. Then obviously you've done a lot of that now. How did that come about in the first place? Was it something you pursued? Did it kind of come about by accident? Of you just had a platform and someone invited you? How did that happen?
Oh, well, we've been blogging for quite a few years already. And I would say around 8, 9, maybe already 10 years ago, that's like when blogging came also more successful in the public, and when companies, it got a kind of hip and yeah, at that moment, I don't know if they approached me or if we approached them. I guess they approached us at that time, and it was a natural fit. So they asked us because we were already known in the industry. We've been speaking at blogging conferences, which they attended. They've seen us speaking there, I guess, and that's when they approached us and said, "Okay, can you share also your experience on our trade fair?" And from there on, it just like grew bigger and bigger. So that at most travel trade fairs, especially in Europe, I've been speaking in the past, and also there, I think it's like the most important of doing this is having the right audience in front of you so that you can educate them. It's not, like I said, it's not really about earning the 2,000 or 5,000 euros on one session presenting and sharing your experience. It's what is far more valuable, especially in the early days, was to explain what you were doing, because it was so similar to what a journalist was doing. We had, like, I know in the first couple of years, we had those kind of fights where the journalists felt threatened by the travel bloggers, and they felt that we were taking away their jobs, which was not really the case. And actually, a lot of journalists turned into bloggers. But the thing is, the industry, when not the big ones, not like National Geographic or BBC, but like with a lot of magazines, when as a destination PR agency, when you approach them, you invite a journalist into a destination, they will forward you. You talk to them, and they will forward you to the marketing department where you have to buy advertising. But the bloggers have never understood that, and so as a blogger, you do everything. You do the PR, you do the writing, you do the marketing, you run everything. But they haven't understood that when you get invited on a press trip, that the industry then can also leave the marketing budget in your company. So, and the industry haven't understood that it was also very important actually to do that, because like when you invite a travel blogger for free, but they have to close the blog after 1 or 2 years because they can't afford it, then it was a waste. That was not a proper investment. So it would make far more sense to choose the blogger very wisely, but then also work on a paid level with them. Pay them for the destination marketing or for banner advertising or for anything. It doesn't matter what. Or for content which they produce for yourself. But just help them to make a living of that, because it's an investment. And the content they produce on the channels, will exist also in a couple of years. And so that was this struggle we had in the beginning. So like the media have seen us more as competition instead of finding ways of how working together, because they still struggle also in the digital way. They still haven't found a way how they can compensate their income stream in the same way as in print. So they have this huge, massive companies blown up with a lot of cost behind that, creating or like running or producing newspaper, print them, distributing them. It costs so much more than running a website, having just a couple of developers and servers there. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, really. Just like for us, it was just like really just like the finding a way also there again to help each other also with print media and find ways to work with them together. And I think a lot of have actually in the past years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Your point of how choosing the right blogger in the first place or influencer, with whatever you're doing, and then I guess understanding that if you support that person, then you will get more long-term value is a really good way of looking at it. So yeah, if the industry is not behind supporting the people who are helping them to get their message out there, then those people will stop doing what they do, and then you kind of lose all the benefit from what was done in the first instance. Which that's a really good take on it. You kind of I guess obviously with the speaking and a lot of other things that you've done, your sort of personal brand has grown, and you are Melvin from TravelDudes. That's kind of how those two things are very much intertwined. Was that a deliberate thing that you did? Has that kind of happened by accident? Do you have any tips to kind of how to grow that? Is it something you would recommend, I guess, as well?
Yeah, I get to that. I just want to go to the last point because I forgot to say, because we were talking about with the presentation, and I think what is far more important, like sharing the knowledge into the industry so that they know how to work with you instead of just charging money. Because if the industry understands, okay, that blogging is same but different to print media, then this is an investment into my future business. So when I've got a big audience in front of me and they know how to work with me, I prepare already the business for the future instead of losing out in the future. And that's why I was always very happy in the past to always share my experience. Similar here, I'm happy to share the knowledge. The more people find out about the potential and the opportunities they can grab, the better it is for everyone. Well, and with my showing the face, being Melvin from TravelDudes, it's actually funny because it's only on Twitter like that. And I'm still having my old, very, very, very old Twitter profile, which is kind of horrible because I've got a red shirt on, was taken in India, drinking an iced tea, and it said something else on the t-shirt, and that was my first try with Photoshop, deleting the red and writing something over. And it's such a bad job, but I'm keeping it now because it's all there all my time, and it's my face, and I'm not sure if I will ever change it again. Maybe I will keep it forever because it's already there so long.
I didn't know that was a Photoshop, actually. Interesting. That's a good little nugget.
It's a bad job done by me. I would do it different. But also now, I mean, I could ask someone else. I still have original photo. I could ask someone to write TravelDudes in a better way on that. But no, I stick to that now. It's part of the whole story.
Yeah. Do you think on that kind of personal brand thing, is it not something that you've tried to do? It sounds maybe like you've tried to stop doing that, so it isn't Melvin and TravelDudes all kind of... No,
I really just used it for Twitter. Because similar like what I said earlier, it was never about me me traveling, writing a travel diary. It was about travelers sharing the experience. My sister recently just said, well, you have to show your face more often. And I would be more successful if I would. Because that's also the success of the travel bloggers. It's like you can have a far closer relationship with that person at that moment. But for me, I try really to build up TravelDudes that it's not me, but really a community behind that. And that's also, again, part of the success. I'm always happy, like when I've got an author, like a travel blogger writing for TravelDudes, when I'm happy, I can promote them. He becomes part of the TravelDudes family. And now over the last couple of years where I build up my team, I want to push them more into the foreground. Like if you look at our TravelDudes videos, you see the whole team, and sometimes in between you see my face in the videos, but you never really see me talking much. Or maybe I'm just like, it's more like, who's this guy who always drops into the video, this Mr. X? Well, and that's me. So I'm always there, and sometimes I drop in, but I want that my team is the face of TravelDudes. But
I guess,
but for the success for blogger, I mean, they don't run a community. Then you need to show your face. It's your personality who creates the whole business success.
I guess there's a bit of a separation there of like the content on TravelDudes itself and then the other things. So, I'm thinking about the speaking when you're at ITB, or, you're doing podcasts and things like this where, it's kind of you as an individual who's speaking. That all of those things are also kind of growing the visibility of TravelDudes.
B2B is my face.
Yeah, and if you is it a kind of clear? Would you do that again? I guess I'm thinking again, if like people are listening, they're running a business, and they might not have, if you were to look at that business, you wouldn't have a clue who was running it. Whereas if for you, obviously everyone knows that Melvin's running TravelDudes, even if he's not the person who's at the forefront of the content on the site itself. It's very easy to draw those two lines together. Do you think that's something that like companies should do to help with their own marketing, or that, just the general growth of their business? Do you think it adds something that allows having a bit of a person, some sort of personality, a spearhead to drive it forward?
Yeah, it depends on the company and if you're an asshole or not, right?
Quite. Yes, indeed.
And I mean, like a travel industry, it's like I've met so many amazing, interesting people. I would always recommend, you have to show more of your personality. This makes the difference, especially as an entrepreneur. There's always a story. I mean, it's also about traveling. And I don't know who told me that, but like, it's so obvious. Every person got a story to tell. You just need to ask the right questions. And that's not just a travel industry like that. That's for any business out there. And and that's like when you run and you started the company. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you have your story.
I think the thing of everyone in travel kind of having their story to tell. I totally agree. I find people, whether it's clients we work with or other people who I've met in the industry, they all just by proxy from doing the things that they do have amazing stories to tell. And I think, just a lot of the time they, but because of their personality, they don't want to put themselves out there necessarily, but there's a lot of benefit to be had from doing that in a kind of, a subtle way. And a lot of the time people approach the promotion of their business in a case of like the business is a separate thing, and they have to get coverage in the Sunday Times travel magazine, and there's this kind of traditional route of here's a business, here's a tour we offer, get that tour in the Sunday Times travel magazine. But actually there's this whole other area of things over the other side that you can be doing that will also promote your business, and that could be doing a podcast and telling your personal story, or it could be doing some sort of interesting video type stuff on social media. And there's it could be talking to like B2B type outlets about how you run your business, rather than focusing on the specific thing that you offer, and all that distinction of more like a B2B promotion versus the kind of traditional consumer angle is a really interesting one. And I don't think it's one that people really exploit that much, because there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, well, I think it's like if you're like in a traditional business, you've been grown up in there, you've been taught in running in this kind of industry. You're not open for many things anymore. You're blocked in a box. And as TravelDudes, I mean, I was always in travel, but I had no idea of running a media company, which sometimes made it more complicated. But on the other side, I could be like very naive about things and turn down those blockades and create complete new things. So, and even now, I have a lot of experience collected over all those years, but I'm still not a typical production company. I've never did an education into editing or video directing or stuff like that. But on the other side, also with the passion, I've learned so much on that. And when you compare the results, they are simply good. But because of not being stuck in the box and doing things the traditional way, it gives you a lot more freedom and creativity in finding complete different results and ways to go forward. It's also like also there again, just like instead of starting this typical office or like running a production company with everyone around me, I was able to sit in my tiny home office, but investing everything into the company and building up something else, which is working for me very well.
Yeah.
And that's I think it's being a bit naive and approaching things can be very helpful. So, for example, we also created the Social Travel Summit. And that's a travel blogging conference for the top bloggers, for the professional bloggers. And the way how we got there, it was like we've been speaking at all the conferences and trade fairs, but we didn't get something out of it or not enough for ourselves. We didn't learn anything. There weren't speakers for our level of blogging. And we've been speaking to the people running those conferences, and we told them we need more marketing people and less PR and other things, but they weren't providing that. So what did we do? We created our own conference without knowing what it means to run a conference. But it was a big success, and it's now like 7-8 years ago when we founded it. And the same way, I mean, we were passionate about it. We knew what was missing, but having no idea of how to run it, we obviously got help by Janice, who had a conference company herself in the past. So we got the right people together to run a very successful company and to run a successful conference. But on the first time, first leg, we had no idea what we were doing there. But being that naive, it gave us a lot of opportunities and chances to run it successful. On the other side, being only naive is not helping. So you always have to be realistic as well. And then you find this middle level on combining both. And then I think that's the trick of the success.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. And having been to the conference, I thought it was great. And again, I think having that fresh view of how to do things and not being kind of stuck in, a sort of more traditional way, really helped it. It was a really cool thing to come to. So to start to bring things to a close a little bit, tell me a bit more about your kind of future plans for TravelDudes. So where would you like it to go? Have you got anything kind of in the pipeline that you're working on? Where would you like it to turn?
I mean, it's 5 years ago that was like a big crisis I had to go through. Like I came up with an excellent idea. It was something very unique. I created the first social travel platform as TravelDudes, and at that time it made sense that you don't need a new Pinterest, a new Instagram. You don't need a social travel or like a social media platform covering all kind of niche, not fashion and travel and automobiles and I don't know, and food. It was time really to have a niche social travel platform. And I came up with the idea. I had like a lot of new insights on new features. For example, instead of just like following a profile, a travel blogger, you were able to follow a keyword. Because like a blogger might travel to Barcelona, but next week he's maybe in Rome. But you want to find out more about Barcelona now. And so it's great to follow a travel blogger, but for me it made so much sense to follow a keyword. So we gathered all the information together. So for example, you were able to follow Barcelona and to find everything about Barcelona travel related on TravelDudes, but also on Twitter and Instagram. Then you might not be interested in a destination, but you might have been interested into food. So you want to follow food, and you suddenly see a cooking class in Thailand, and you say, wow, that's amazing. I'm going there. And my next holiday, I want this cooking class. And so I came up with this brilliant idea, and it was all working, and we launched it, and everything went black for a complete week. I was in touch with big newspaper. They wanted to write about that. I wanted to shout it out and make it this big announcement, and I couldn't because it my developers failed me completely. Instead of creating a website from scratch, which was their job, which I told them, they took the old website and took it all over with all the developing errors from all those years from 2004. And there was a big disaster. And even months after that, though we have run a community website, people weren't able to register. So even months, and I invested a lot of money and I couldn't fix it because it would have cost a lot of money again. The company was trying to fix it, but the only chance was to start all over again, which they didn't want to do either. I didn't want to sue them. I would have been in this struggle then. So I was trying to fix all those kind of issues for many, many years. Now, in the recent years, now we have the GDPR rules with all the data. And so running a community is far more risky. So when someone uploads content, it's not really anymore on his shoulders if he got the rights to upload a photo, if he owns the rights to use it. It's shifting more towards the site owner. There's still like a gray zone, but like as running community, I really have to make a change now, unfortunately. So like we stay a community, but we recently had a relaunch. So we still have the travel bloggers we work with, but it will be only on invitation only. And so we are including and adding the old content every week now. And we'll get in touch with all the bloggers so that we still want to work together with them, but it will get more exclusive. And on the other side, we change also our complete content strategy so that in the past we had like 2 sections where content got published. And now it will be only 1 section, but it will be far more quality content and edited, which was also in the past, but now we get rid of the quantity part and where everyone was able to publish. And now it's really just, there's nothing going online without being checked by my team of editors.
Right, nice. Well, I guess there's a beauty of, in the early days, you just need to build up the kind of massive content on the website. But then once you have that, there's more benefit to be had from, I guess, kind of pruning around the edges and just, making everything that you've got much better. And you don't need as much kind of fast content to get onto the site to benefit.
Well, and you're the SEO expert. For example, when running a community like Facebook or Twitter, this goes over quantity. So you've got hundreds of people writing about food in Barcelona. And that was also my aim. I wanted a lot of people writing about a destination, about everything. But at the moment, like you have let's say 10 articles about food in Barcelona, the content is competing each other. So, and because my developers failed me so big time, I'm not doing something in that way anymore. So we keep it now more exclusive and we'll be working on a new content strategy so that we might only have like 1 article about food, but this one will be top notch. And there might be a second one, but then one might be about high cuisine, one about street food, so that it's not competing anymore. So in the past, running the community, all the content was competing. So we really get TravelDudes on a complete new level also for SEO and to create far better content also for the users in the end. And for our partners to get more exposure. Yeah,
sounds right on the money. Hey, this, listen, when you've tied it back into SEO, that sounds as good as any place to bring it to a close, Melvin. Very, very nicely done. Listen, it's been an absolute. It sounds like exciting times coming up. Like there, those challenges that you've mentioned. I think most people will have had some sort of woes with developers over the years, and it's I guess just it's a challenge that's just out there now for every business that they have to deal with people working with their websites, and it's so hard to find the right people and people who can do what they say they can do and things like that. So yeah, I'm glad to hear you've kind of come out the other side of that. And it sounds like there's some good stuff coming up. So excited to see how that develops. Have you got any kind of final thoughts? Anything else you'd like to share with people listening, Melvin?
Well, I think it's like, I think what is important is that you go for your dreams, and I mean, not everyone is. It's like being an entrepreneur. A lot of times, it's also very hard. It makes no sense if everyone turns an entrepreneur. But I think most important is like that if you have a goal and just like trying to work on it and make it possible, no matter what it is. A lot of people thought it was amazing when I quit my job and I was traveling the world for half a year. And for me, it was like, wow, so why don't you do it? It was so easy to do. So that's my recommendation. If you want to do stuff like that, just like set your priorities in that way and then do it. Save some money, quit your job, you find another job, or ask your boss, like with my friend when I've been traveling. He didn't quit his job. He asked his boss like to take a time out for 3 months. And the boss said, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. He was on his side. So I think that's the most important is like, don't run or don't have like a boring life, but like keep it exciting and keep following your dreams.
Love it. Love it. Hey, thanks so much for coming on. It's been great to talk to you. There's so many good little items you've shared in there that I think people who are listening can use and take away and apply for themselves, hopefully. Where's the best place to find you, Melvin? Website, social? Give us the links and addresses.
TravelDudes, no matter where. Go onto the website, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I don't know what. The best website is always the best because that's like where the TravelDudes family is. But everything else is also great.
Easy as that. Fantastic. Okay. Thanks so much for your time. Really nice to speak
You're
to you.
welcome.
Take care. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
There we have it. I hope you found that one useful. Melvin's got so much experience in the blogging and content world, and it's great to pull on some of those threads to get his insights. There was loads in there that I think any travel business can take and put into action, regardless of the fact that it's coming from someone from the blogging world. If you go to TravelDudes.com for more information, and you'll also find links to the various social channels, and you can join the huge followings that Melvin's got already. If you go to seotravel.co.uk/Melvin-Boecher, you can see all the show notes. That's MELVIN-BOECHER. And yeah, you'll find the show notes there and links to the various things that Melvin mentioned in the conversation. You can also watch the video of the conversation there. And if you visit seotravel.co.uk/podcast, you can find other episodes where you'll get lots of other insight too. If you're a travel company looking for marketing support from people who really care about your success, then please do get in touch at seotravel.co.uk and we'd love to hear from you. You can also read more about our 100% project there, which outlines how we give all the profit we make from the business to educational charities, both at home and around the world. We'd love your support in spreading the word about what we're doing so we can help these charities as much as possible. If you enjoyed the show, it would be fantastic if you could review us on iTunes and share what your favourite bits were there. Subscribe to it as well, and it would be fantastic if you could share it with at least one person who you think could benefit from the episode and the insight that Melvin offered. Go on, you know someone. I'd love to hear from you and find out what you enjoyed in particular so that we can continue to bring more content like this your way that you find both entertaining and also helpful. My email is tom@seotravel.co.uk and I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, give our other episodes a listen. We've had some incredible stories from people already and there's more fantastic people coming up, so do stay tuned for future episodes. And when you subscribe, you'll get notified whenever we release a new episode so you can be one step ahead of the game. Otherwise, thanks so much for listening and for your support and kind words. It's always lovely when we get messages from people saying they're enjoying the content, so please do send those in. And until next time, happy travels.